Hi, everybody. It's Maria from What's the Story with Maria. How's it going? We want to welcome you to our show. I got to tell you, tonight is Tuesday, uh, uh, April 9th, 2024. We are coming to you live from New York City. And also, our guests are zooming in from beautiful Los Angeles area. They're closer to Leo tonight than they will be to me. But this is the beauty of technology. That's the beauty of technology. The difficulty of technology is sometimes it doesn't always work. So we're having issues tonight with my Facebook page. We usually broadcast from that Facebook page as well as What's the Story with Maria, which is where we're broadcasting from right now. But we're going to come live. I'm trying to do two things at once. We're coming to you live from the What's the Story with Maria page. So just hang on there, and then I will broadcast it to my other page. Okay, so if you're checking in, just let us know that you're here. I know most people watch us on the Maria Gentili page, and I'm just trying to get out of that page, and so many things happening. But anyway, my loves. Okay, so yesterday was the eclipse, as you know, and I don't know if anybody else watched where people watched it from, but I watched it with my oh, there it is. What's the Story with Maria? Okay, hold on a second. Leo, why don't you zoom in and join me for a second? Danielle says, happy Tuesday, Maria and Leo, working on YouTube. Fantastic. Hey there. Oh my God. This is so great because John and Lori are there. All right, so I'm trying to get out of this. We have a lot of technical stuff happening tonight. So just hang in. Okay, good. We're there. We're here. Okay, good. Okay. So many crazy things happening. All right. Anyway, we are coming to you live. Oh, there it is. Hi, everybody. Oh, boy. Crazy thing. So I would suspect, maybe Danielle can help us out with this. Leo mentioned that Mercury is in retrograde, and that's why all of this stuff is happening. Mercury, be kind to What's the Story with Maria G. Thank you, Danielle. If anybody has the power, I know you do. Okay, so that's not happening from my phone. I'm going to come over here to my other computer and try to share it. So we do want to tell you about something really exciting that's happening Sunday, October 28th. Our friend Lynn Portish, genius. I got like 800 things open right now. Okay, here it is. Let me see if I can share it from here. She is, Leo, put up that little
I'm trying. Hold on.
Okay.
Oh.
Lynn is going to be in Mineola. Let me see if I can share this. I'm trying to share it now. That's okay. You know what? We're gonna forget about that. I'm gonna forget about this too. Okay, so it seems to me like a lot of people are on. So let's say hi to our friends. And then we'll go back to sharing Lynn's upcoming thing. John Pietero has joined us. He says, hey, Lori and I are with you. I love that. Ed Kutu, happy Tuesday. Hey, Eddie, I saw you and your guy watching the eclipse yesterday. What a great picture that was. And Lori says, we are here. I'm so glad you're here. Peter Feliciano of Peter Feliciano Fine Jewelry has joined us. Ola, Maria, and Leo. And Peter, I loved your ad with the eclipse. That was so cool. With the jewelry and the eclipse. That was a really cool ad. I think I saw it on Instagram. So let me see. And Danielle is joined. Rena Cugnali Bergi, my cousin from Massachusetts. Hello and happy Tuesday, beautiful people. Hi, sweetheart. Yeah, we're having a little bit of an issue tonight. So what are you going to do? There's nothing you can do tonight. We are a little kooky. So we want to say thank you to everybody for checking in with us. And we're going to forge ahead, I think. So, Leo, can you pull up that Lynn Portis thing?
I'm trying to.
Oh,
There we
okay.
go.
So, all right. There it is. Yes, our StreamYard's given us a little bit of a hard time and a little bit of a hard time connecting to what's the story with Maria. So, but all that said, we're going to forge ahead. And we're going to bring on our guests very, very soon because there's two of them. And okay, there she is. So, Lynn Portis, genius, our friend, is coming to us. She's going to be live at what is the name of the place? It's Casariano's Italian restaurant, and that is in Jericho Turnpike, 348 East Jericho Turnpike, Mineola, Long Island. That is Sunday, Sunday, April 28th. And I believe she is playing live from 6:30 to 9:30. We will remind you, and I will certainly put it on my page. We love our Lynn. And if you're out in the Long Island area, which I know a lot of you are, or at least close by, or you can take, let's make a plan to meet out there and hang out with Linny. I think that would be the way to spend that afternoon. How wonderful would that be?
I think they forgot the word genius on there. I don't see it. Where's that?
It doesn't say Lynn Porter's genius. We know she is.
You know who was a genius?
What?
Shakespeare was a genius.
Gee. All right, so here is our calendar, our Nothing But the Apron calendar. If you don't know what this is, our friends come together every year around October and submit pictures of themselves with nothing but the apron. And what is the apron? It's our What's the Story with Maria, Go Ahead, Keep Eating apron. Because, you know, we do have a food section of our show called Go Ahead, Keep Eating. And so they wear nothing but the apron. This is G. Enrique, and they are wearing the apron and holding a skull because they celebrate the same birthday as Shakespeare. So there's your Shakespeare reference. So G, thank you. G is often with me and Zach at the Duplex on Wednesday nights. It's either Sarah Glassman or G. Enrique. And sometimes we have other people. So that is G in our calendar. It's only $10. I still have a few left. If you want them, let me know. I'll get them right out to you. They're really fun. And here are all our people on the back, all our months. We have some real hotties in this. And next year, I already have 5 months filled. Can you believe it? So we will need your pictures by October if you want to be in it. Let me know you want to be in it. I'll get an apron out to you. What?
I just remembered something too.
What?
4th of July is coming up pretty soon. Before we get to aprons, we need some of our we can start our campaign for our families, immigrant families, for our video for 4th of July.
Yeah, we need to do that right away. Right away, we need to do that. Okay, so thank you for reminding me. This is great that this came up. We made a video, Leo and I, and a bunch of our friends. I wrote a song with Wiltie and Hall a couple years ago called This Is My America. And it's a song about immigration, and it's really, I'm very proud of it. My family is from somewhere else, and most of my friends' families are from somewhere else, whether it's your first generation or second. And so I asked a bunch of my friends to take pictures of them, of their family members that migrated here as they were when they migrated, and now what their family has grown into. And it's really very special. So if you want to be part of that project, our immigration project, the This Is My America video project, we're going to be making a second video with the song. If you want to be part of it, if your family came from somewhere else and you want to tell us about that, just reach out to me at Maria Gentili at AOL or right on my Facebook page and let me know that you want to do that. And I will make sure that you and I connect, and Leo, and we get that done because we're going to redo the video. We're always going to keep the original. We'll just keep adding to it. And we were on New York One with Ron Lee in July. It was so great. By the way, happy birthday to Ron Lee. Today is Ron Lee, our friend, Ron Lee. He is also he's an anchor person on New York One, and he's great and just a loving, wonderful person. So happy birthday to our friend Ron Lee. And maybe we can get him on the show. I mean, I think he'd do it. I don't know if he's allowed to do it, but if he's allowed to do it, I don't. You know how those contracts are. But if he is allowed to do it, maybe we can get him to Zoom in one night. How fun would that be? So anyway, we had a segment on with him, and you can find all that stuff on my website, which is mariagentili.com. Okay, Leo, I think the time has come. I think the time has come to Zoom in our friends and see what's happening there.
We've got to talk about that catechism.
Yeah, we really do, because I think we all need a little redemption right about now. And,
hi, Andy.
So we have two. Andy Prasky has joined us. Hi, Andy. And also I saw Jill, your friend Jill
Frozen.
just jumped in.
Hi,
Andy went to see a really cool show the other night, and I'm dying to hear how it went. So are we ready to Zoom in our wonderful friends that happen to be
they are ready.
actors that happen to be married to each other? Although when I met them, I met them separately. And look what love has brought us now. Hi, my friends. This is Denise Fennell and Rick Pasqualone, or Rick Pasqualone and Denise Fennell, depending on where you are. Right?
I mean, first of all, hi, Maria.
Hi, my loves. How are you?
Isn't life wild?
It is wild. Yeah. I've been I think about you guys a lot because we've all known each other a long, long time.
Right.
I mean, I was in Tony and Tina's in 91 to 98. So, Rick, when I was in Tony and Tina's, you were Tony.
I was.
You were Tony. You will always be Tony to me. I mean, that's just the way it was. Although there were many great, wonderful Tonys after that. Yeah. Rick was my first Tony. So I always saw Tony as that. You were that's it. You were the prince. You were the Tony prince to me. So that was so cool. And then you went off and did other things. And then Dee, you came in. What year did you come in?
I think, it's hard to figure out, but I started in Boston.
Yes.
So I came like right after Boston. So I want to say like somewhere around 98. I started downtown.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's where I was too. So right as I was leaving, I think
we were 10 years apart in casting.
Yeah. So there was always a bunch of casts coming through because there were a lot of different companies, and you were in the Boston company.
Yeah.
I know there was like a San Francisco company. A lot of people came from there. Justine did, and Lara, and Mark Nasser was everywhere, but he would go to different companies and then come back in. And so there was a lot of that going on, but it was always such an amazing experience. And so many of us, most of us have stayed really, really good friends. Or even if we don't talk to each other, we're like connected forever.
Because that's such an experience, because nobody can ever understand that until you like lived that.
Right.
When it was magic. And, to me, Tony and Tina's was such a wonderful playground and such a creative group of people. And I'm so grateful to it.
Yeah, me too. And I know we're all grateful to Joe and Karen Corcoran.
Yeah.
Karen Selene and Joe.
And Mark came to Boston. I mean, like my worlds collided. My worlds have completely collided.
Yeah.
So it's wild. I'm like, okay.
So now, Rick, there's a lot of stuff that you've done in between then and now that you're kind of like, you fly under the radar. You're like, that's the kind of guy you are. You kind of like take a little bit of I let my work do the talking, right? I mean, that's how I perceive you. But you've done a ton of commercials. You do a lot of voiceovers.
Yeah.
And you're like a working actor, right?
God bless. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us about some of the stuff you've done, because I was trying to find a few little things there, and then we'll go back to Dee, because I know Dee's got a bunch of things that's going on too. So let's talk about just the stuff, like the commercials and the acting stuff that you did after.
Well, before we say that, as you were dialing in and we were talking about our long-standing friendships in Tony and Tina's wedding, Alan Steele is calling me on the other line.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, and I'm like, I'm on with Maria Gentili. He's like, we're dead. What's happening?
Is he out in LA as well?
Yeah.
A lot of you folks are, right?
A bunch of us came out. Alan came out with Glenn Toronto,
Right.
Mikey Creo, Louis Martini. We were all living in the same building, Maria.
No.
It was like Melrose Place for Italians.
Oh my God.
I
It
love
was like,
that.
it was Mozzarella Place.
I love that. So you guys just like, I mean, these are the most Italian guys you can imagine. So you all moved into the same building?
We all moved into the same building in Hollywood. We thought we were living like kings because we were paying like $500 a month. We had a swimming pool, a gym. Meanwhile, we're in the middle of like the most disgraziat neighborhood in Hollywood, but we thought we thought we were living the life, you know.
Of course.
It's sunny every day. Yay.
Oh my God, I love that story. I can just imagine if someone had filmed you guys out there.
Imagine. Thank God. Thank
Yeah,
God there
that's
were no
true.
cell phones because we'd all be in a lot.
I know. And it was before Facebook also, thank God.
Oh my God.
So, but Rick, then you started getting into commercials and voiceovers and all that. And how did that, so tell us about that. Cause I've seen you on a bunch of commercials.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's my friend.
I was doing commercials and stuff in New York. That's how I got started. When I was doing Tony and Tina's, I was trying to get an agent. I was trying to get with this agency, and they were, you know, they weren't really committing to me. But then they came and saw the show, and you know, and at the time, you know, what a great opportunity to be doing an off-Broadway show, you know, every night of the week, and you can invite people down and see you work.
Right.
And they basically said, like, we don't really know what to do with you, but we'll take a shot, you know.
Okay.
And I didn't really know what I was doing, but you know, just kind of dove in.
Yeah.
And started to work, and then years later, you know, realized I had no business being in this business. I didn't know what I was doing, but you know, you figure it out as you go, and you.
I don't think there's any way to know what you're doing. I mean, you just are in it. Like, I think if you really are an actor, like we say we are, and I believe that we are real actors, you have to just be in your body and in your character or whatever you're doing at that moment. Like, I don't think there's any real way. Yeah, you could take a bunch of classes, you can, you know, meditate, you can read, you can learn other languages, you can work on dialects, all that stuff. But I think, and I going back to what Denise said about Tony and Tina's wedding, I think that was one of the best classrooms we all took, because it was like 7 improv classes a week. There were swings all the time. So you all this different stimuli thrown at you. You had to not just fly by the seat of your pants every night, but you had to take what you were given and create comedy from it.
Yeah.
And
I took that experience when I came to LA, and I could walk into any casting office, and they would throw stuff at me and just go, can you try this? Of course, you know, because we've been doing that, like you said, we were doing that 8 shows a week.
Right.
Yeah, I can take a curveball. I can hit the curve. I can go opposite field. You know.
Right. Oh boy, I know. And by the way, speaking of opposite field, did you ever play on the Tony and Tina softball team? I think you did, right?
We were the one. Me and Louis Martini we were one of the ones that we were the captains of that team when we were.
Oh my God!
Remember we had the bowling team too.
Oh my God, yeah, because I was on the both of those things, and I'm like, I know Rick was on that team.
Yeah, I still have
Louis,
my pink shirt, my pink bowling shirt.
Look, I still have I wore my 20 and Tina shirt tonight.
That's a great one. I love the black and red.
Yeah, from the softball. This is what we had for softball shirts.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Out in the sun, you know, black is so cooling, so that's what we had. But oh my God, we had a lot of fun, and the bowling league was great.
That was the great part of that too. It was we, you know, it's like we couldn't get enough of each other during the day, so we had to hang out at night. We had to hang out at bowling. We had to hang out at softball. That was our entire social.
That's it. We were together all the time. It's true. I mean, you were together every single day. I think, except what would we have, Mondays off? I think, or something.
Yeah, Mondays off, and then we would probably hang out on our days off too.
Right.
I would go to the beach with Tony Lauria. I'm like, can we not like one day?
And then once Anthony Barilli came into the show, then he had 3 of Cups, and everybody would go there. There was always something going on, you know. Or we were at Gus's. Remember Gus's downstairs? Oh,
listen, Maria, Jesus, you come to my place here. Nobody orders anything. Everybody drinks water over here. Well, you guys are killing me. What?
Oh my God, Gus! Remember how Gus always wanted to be in the show? He would come.
And Gus was in the show with us.
Oh my God. But do
That's,
you remember he would come upstairs from the back
Yeah.
staircase and just want to be in the show?
He would just start doing Brando. We would just do dueling Brandos at the back of the room. It had nothing to do with that. Why is Tony standing with the guy that makes the ZD and doing Brando impressions? That's nobody
Oh
cares.
my God. Speaking of ZD, so Gus used to cook. We had, if you've never been to Tony and Tina's wedding, what it was it was an interactive show where there's a real wedding going on, and there Rick was the groom, and at a different time Denise was the bride, and you also were sister, right? You were great sister, right?
that's what I started as the stripper. Then New York, I had to be sister because I had the Boston accent, and that was really hard, man. That was my biggest challenge coming to New York.
Wait, I forgot you started as the stripper and
I
you were
started as
the
a
nun.
stripper in Boston, yeah. And then when I came to New York, they were like, it was such a shift in casting. It was such an interesting time, and I I don't know what I was thinking, but somehow I ended up the nun. I'm like, I'm very confused here with this play and
Well,
how,
that was the way it went. It just
but
was
I had a ball.
But you know what? The same thing with me. I understudied all the bridesmaids and sister and Loretta.
It's
Like that's
fun.
the way it was. You
I
just
said, I don't care. Just get me in. Get me in the room. I don't care. I'll wear anything. I'll be anybody.
well, that's what it was. And you would walk up the stairs
Yeah.
and the board would be there.
Yeah.
So you'd come into your job, which was a show, and you check in by looking at the board, and it would say who was who that day. So people would get moved around a lot because someone was out and they had to shift around. But you didn't know who you were until that day lots of times. I mean, if you were the set, like a set, but even that sometimes people would have to bop around according to whose dress fit who, and
Yes. That was the other part. I had a very real come to Jesus moment when I was in the dressing room once. I'm like, I'm never gonna understudy Tina right now. I'm too tall.
because of the dresses, right? Depending. Who
But
was the
also,
Tina before you? Was it Justine?
so Justine had just left, and then it was oh my
Susie?
God, Marilyn Mutteries.
Right.
It was I came in at such an interesting time, but I had seen the show right after we opened in Boston. I flew out, um, per advice of Luca Palanca, and
Luca. Oh my God.
yeah, he was like, "You got to see the show in New York City. Just go see it, like figure it out." So when we opened the show in Boston, I made enough money dancing on the table with Michael Perry as Madeline that we used the money to fly to New York to see
Oh
you.
my God.
And you guys were still smoking on the dais. And
Yes.
I mean, I thought Debbie Pichatori was going to just punch my face in from the second we arrived at the church. I was like,
Oh
it
my
was
God.
so authentic. To me,
Was she Donna back then?
yes.
Yeah, she was a rough Donna. She was
It was
tough.
so good, though. She was so good. Everybody was so good. Justine was Tina at the time.
Yeah,
You were Marina. I mean, it
yeah.
was exceptional. It was truly, and Susanna was Maddie. And right after that,
Right.
she
Susanna's in LA too, right?
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
And my
great friendships, great creative moments, great synergy. I had no idea what I was learning or how it would all come into play later in my life, but it sure did.
so speaking of which, now you went into another improv show. You do the late night catechism, right?
Yeah.
Wow. So that's been going on a long time, Denise, off and
Yeah.
on, right?
Almost the show's been running now. It ran off Broadway and it shared a space with Tony and Tina's at one moment. So it's been running 30 years, Mary Pat, and her plays are amazing and it's an incredible series and it's just it's playing everywhere. It's unreal to me that this character and it was right under my nose the whole time. When we were doing the show up on 46th Street, we were sharing the church. So we would go in at 7:30. And then when we would leave to go down the street for the reception, late night catechism would perform in the same space. So occasionally Mary Pat and I passed each other as Tina
Oh,
and his sister, she had a lot to say to me and I had a lot to say back.
wow.
And then we went to a theater conference together and she was like, I was dressed as Tina and she was dressed as sister and we did a showcase together. And shortly thereafter, she was like, you should do my play. And I was like,
Wow,
wow, it's a
really?
huge undertaking, but it's really been one of the greatest gifts. It's such a great role to play. I'm having a ball with it, and it's really, we
Now,
just did the Irish version. I was the,
I want to know. That's what I was just going to say. Now, it was St. Patty's Day. This is hysterical. And you did the St. Patty. Tell us about that.
so, Houston, amazing. Stages, theater, amazing. We had been working on a new version for Late Night Catechism that had to do with St. Patrick's Day. Somehow, Mary Pat and I end up writing partners on it. If you notice, I hyphenated my name and told Mary Pat right away that Ricky was going to be involved, because if I've learned anything in this business, Maria, like, sometimes you stay in your lane, but you can just see what's going on in the road. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of really talented people around me, and great writers, and Ricky's an incredible writer. And we found ourselves working with Mary Pat to write this show. So the Irish Catechism was really special for the both of us, because we were credited as writers for the
love
first
that.
Catechism series. And Mary Pat flew to Texas to see it, and it just became such a contagious show. And I've done a lot of interactive theater, but I knew from night number one, we had written into the second half of the play that we were going to have a parade, right? Because how do you celebrate St. Patrick's Day? A parade.
Right.
What is a parade? It's a religious procession. So we do all the research, and we decide, if there's going to be a parade, if Sister's going to have a parade, she should be the Grand Marshal.
Of course.
That's it. We wrote it as a play. That was the objective of the second half of the play. And then she leads the class in a parade around the classroom. When I said it, the first night the show opened, I saw people in the audience kind of shift. They really believed me that I was campaigning to be the Grand Marshal of the St. Patrick's Day Parade in Houston. But there was also something contagious about it, where they were like, you should be. And why not? And I was like, you know what? Why not? And then through the course of the run, we were just asking people to share videos, and they started sharing like so many videos with the parade commission in Houston. Some guys like, are you a nun in a play? Like, what is going on? Everybody's sending me messages about, you should be the Grand Marshal of my St. Patrick's Day parade. And I was like,
so people, they were like commissioning for you, like
campaigning.
Oh my God.
Campaigning. So that's what was so special about it. And the theater, right off the bat, when Ricky and I came up with the idea, we thought, why not invite every audience member to actually walk in the parade with us? That's sort of how it started.
That's incredible.
The theater said yes and put a QR code in the program, so people could actually sign up to march. It just kind of took on a life of its own, and art became life, or life became art. We weren't quite sure what was happening.
Well, just like Tony and Tina's, it blurs. It comes together. Like, so let me just, for 1 second, my friend Andy Prasky, who happens to be he's a director. He directs film. He does documentaries. He's a real cool guy. He says, I was freaked out when I approached the church during Tony and Tina's, and a groomsman patted me down looking for a gun. Like, he still remembers that. And Andy, what year was that? I bet it was like in the 90s. Rick, you might have been one of those guys. Like, people still remember that. People all the time say, oh my God, I went to that show and this happened or that happened, or, so it's that. And you know what else? The stories I love, Rick, you'll remember this, I think, because Dee, I think by Lynn might have already been gone. I'm not sure, but Lynn's kids, they were 6, 5, and 4, or something like. You remember, Rick remembers. So Lynn sometimes couldn't find a babysitter, and she would bring her kids to the show while she was playing the show. So I would grab Jackie and bring her everywhere with me, and Sharon would grab Nicole, because Nicole was the most scrappy and Sharon was so scrappy. And then they would put John, he was 4. I don't know where they got this little mini tuxedo, but they put him in a tux, and the groomsmen would take him around.
You just make it work.
Exactly. So on the nights that they were our kids now would come to the show, they were part of the show. Like, it's like, so it's going back to what you're talking about with the audience becoming part of that whole thing.
So full circle, we brought our kids now to the show. We we were developing it here in our living room, and they just think we're just the wackiest nutballs. And we're like, we're going to go to Texas, and you're actually going to see what we do for a living. And it was the first time they had seen her perform as the nun.
Yeah.
They were part of the show that night. They were part of the parade, and they were just like, "Oh, okay."
I mean, Houston brings it.
Yeah.
I mean, this theater, Stages Theater, is exceptional. The community down there, the way they support art and the stuff that's being developed at this theater, it's really it's such a positive experience. We're having a ball.
I love that. Now, speaking of theater, I want to shift over to Rick. Rick, you did a show about Elvis in the last few years, right?
Yeah.
So
that Lynn Portis was involved. Lynn helped us with the music.
Oh wow. Okay, so tell us about that. And was that also in Houston?
No, that was our first real artistic collaboration.
Yeah.
And you did, Denise, you wrote that as well?
I didn't. I was working with Robert Watman, Bobby Watman from the Culture Club. And I met him when we produced Birdie's Bachelorette Party at his nightclub. And then I went out to Vegas with him and produced some stuff out there. And I had come back to New York, and we produced Totally Tubular Time Machine with Susanna was the director, Janine Molinari was the choreographer. It was exceptional. It was amazing. And so we've worked together quite a bit.
Yeah, and so let's go back to the Elvis show. Tell me about that, Rick.
So we had met doing the reboot of Tony and Tina's. This is 2014. She said, I'm developing this show with a friend of mine, and I had met Bobby, and we hit it off, and we're both Elvis fans, and we're just like cool. And she's like, we want to read the script. We don't know where it is. Maybe you can just like read it for us. I'm like, well, if we're gonna read it, like, why don't we just do it? Like, I'll bring my guitar, we'll sing. Like, yeah, okay, sure. So, like, from one afternoon, sitting in Bobby's living room in New York, and I read through the script and, was just kind of making stuff up on the fly. And we're like, yeah, okay, this can work.
And they called me and they were like, how serious are you about Ricky? And I was like, I mean, like,
she's like, serious how?
Serious how? Like, serious how? Like, and like, like, do you want to work with him? And I was like, yeah, he's super talented. And they're like, we really love him, like, actually for the Elvis character in the play. And I was like, wow, okay. So what started out as a reading for Ricky turned into him just killing it, and then being Elvis in a play that I was brought on as a producer on, which was so wild and fun for us at the time.
And you guys were not dating then?
Not really at that time.
I think maybe you had special feelings for me.
Yeah, I might have had special feelings.
Well, can you blame her, Rick? You are very handsome.
Oh.
I mean, let's just call it
life, right?
Everybody had a crush on Rick in the show, even the lesbians. Everybody had a crush on Rick.
How can you not?
Leo, what are you playing?
Sounds like girls just want to have fun.
And also, Lynn said, "Channeling the King." That was the name of the show.
And that was such a great opportunity too, because then you talk about worlds colliding. Like here, all of a sudden, I'm in a room with Lynn Portis and Ricky, and
bless her heart, because here's the thing. We started to develop this show, and there's me. So it was two. I played two characters. I played this unsuccessful insurance salesman from Long Island who suddenly can channel Elvis Presley. And because he can channel Elvis, all of a sudden his insurance business takes off. And now he's forced to deal with
Look at how cool that is.
Yeah.
And he's having a real, trying to figure out, why is this happening to me? And, when you take on Elvis, you forget, because he's become almost a parody. But young Elvis, man, he had a powerful, beautiful voice. He could move. I mean, it's a big, big thing. And even though we were like, this is not an Elvis tribute show, I really wanted to. I'm a huge fan. I really wanted to do it.
Yeah, me too. I love Elvis too.
And God bless Lynn Portis, because she really helped. I went into training camp. I really have to, anybody can do an Elvis impression for about 15 seconds, but to do it for an hour and a half, I was like, I got training.
Yeah, that's like intense, right?
Yeah, it was great. It was a fun show, and we just had a ball, and it was just a great great time.
But you folks remember, like, when we were kids, how especially the women were crazy about Elvis. Like,
They were the same way, Maria, on tour. Like, women were screaming at Ricky, like,
yes.
ripping his.
Really? I love that.
Like, what are we doing? I'm in Alamogordo, New Mexico. Now, Ricky and I are on the road together to produce this thing because, you know, being on the road with theater is a wild ride within itself. Like,
Yeah.
so many people think we just show up at the theater and it's like spectacular, but some of these places are in the middle of nowhere. They're the most beautiful theaters in the world, but you got to commit to get there. And
Right.
and we had Ricky's, you know, costume. I mean, I called the show. Like, I was the tech.
Really?
Yeah. You know, like, and it's so wild to be in those experiences with him, but creatively, like, we both love that. We live for that. So
Yeah. Well, that's it. Like, you know, both of you are the same in that, even though you came from different places, you had different experiences getting to where, but you're both the same in your commitment to theater. Like, nobody could say that's not a truth. Both of you.
When I had a nervous breakdown the night before opening night, she was like, "Put your tight pants on and get out there."
like, what are you doing? What do you mean?
Put your high heels and your tight pants on and you get out there.
What do you mean you can't do it? That's not an option. Get out of here. It's happening. So
Wow.
what are you saying? You know?
Andy Prasky says things were done in the show that you can't do today. Going back to Tony Chase, servers would reach into a big bowl of salad with their bare hands. Like, yeah, it was crazy. It was insane. Going back to that.
It's so next level that nothing surprises me. I feel like I can almost do anything.
Yeah, because we were thrown into different situations all the time, and you said, you don't have the option of like saying I am not doing this. You have to stay in it. You're on a ride. And then we're going to talk about the bride. You get on a ride. People would ask me about this, like, oh, how do you do that? I go, you get on a ride at the beginning of the show, and you cannot get off of the ride until it's over, until the last person walks out.
Right.
And then you walk back into the dressing room. That is the end of the ride. And sometimes in the dressing room, I don't know who put it up, but somebody, maybe it's one of the crazies, put up improv free zone, because it was the only place that you could walk in at the dressing room and be like, okay, I can just not be my character right for the second while I grab my comb, while I fix my, whatever it is, while I ask Rose Keogh to hem my dress. For that second, you could be off. But then you had to, as soon as you opened that door, you were back out there and you were back in that world. It's like nothing else that anybody's ever done, I'm sure. Okay, two things. I'm going to take a pause because we're going to do the food section of our show. I don't know if I told you, but we have a food section of our show. I cannot ask my guests to be creative if I do not stay creative myself every week. And then we're going to talk about the bride. Okay, so this will take all of 5 minutes. Not even. Okay, so every night I cook something, given with what the circumstances are or what the week is or whatever. This week I happen to be on the keto again because I got to fit into something for the MAC Awards, which are next Monday. So, but just because you're on the keto doesn't mean you can't get creative. So the name of this section of our show is Go Ahead, Keep Eating. Are you ready? We're going to do that at the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Go ahead.
Keep eating.
Beautiful. Very good. And that line is from, can anybody tell me? Raging Bull. When Joe Pesci says to Robert De Niro, you get so fat, your stomach is blocking the TV. He's like, what? One of my favorite lines. Anyway, so what did I make tonight? Isn't that beautiful plating? If I say so myself, this is one of my best plates ever. I took a picture of it. So I made scallops marinated in sherry, saffron, crushed red peppers, lemon and parsley, and with a little bit of garlic. And then I put some lobster bouillon in. There's something called Better Than Bouillon, and it's they all different flavors, and I love the lobster-based one. And then what I did is I cooked some Vidalia onions, red peppers, peas, and broccoli in garlic butter, and I put that on top. with a little bit of bacon, which,
Yeah,
yeah, doesn't that look good?
it looks delicious.
This is all keto. I mean, the vegetables are a little high carb, but they're good carbs, so I can have that. And and then for a salad, because of course my Italian friends were on, a nice burrata
Ooh.
Ooh,
on red leaf lettuce with cherry tomatoes, balsamic vinegar, and a rosemary infused olive oil. How beautiful is that? With a
Looks
little onion
delicious.
salt. Isn't that pretty?
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. And then, of course, because I'm on the keto, I love dessert, but I cannot say enough about these. These are Atkins they call breakaway bars. So they taste just like Kit Kats, except they are super low carb. So nobody pays me to say anything. I just promo what I love. And that's it. That is my promo. Okay. Leo, I'm sorry to interrupt. Let's go back to the bride, the pictures that you had up there. So, Dee, this is something you're working on. Tell me about this.
So the bride, we created that last year and we workshopped it at Stages in Houston, and it was a huge hit.
So,
Like,
you and Rick wrote this as well?
I mean, I have to say that Rick really wrote it. And I feel like I contributed a lot to it.
Okay,
But
I didn't know that.
yeah, the structure and the way this play came together was so beautiful, and it was such a collaboration with Ken McLaughlin, the artistic director in Stages, Todd Molesky, who is he is just an incredible creative down in Houston. He runs the theater, but when I'm there, he's my stage manager, and we had come up with this concept several years ago. Stages had approached us to create our own show, create a show for me. And some ideas got tossed around, and then some idea came up of me being a bride. And Ricky and I had just gotten married, and the artistic director was like, "What if the character was a bride?" I'm like, "Well, I have a lot of experience, playing a bride, and I just went through planning my wedding, a bride of a certain age, and we all agreed upon it, and the writing started. And then Ricky kind of just took off with it, and he started writing, and he started coming up with some really wild and fun ideas, and the connectivity of all the stories, and it was so fun to be working with him. And then we went to Palm Springs to reveal our first draft of the script, to meet with the creative team, and I read the script for them out loud the first time, and they loved it. And
Is it a one-person show?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
And it was such a cool experience because, I love to work with the audience, so I wanted to involve that for sure in the show, but it's very theatrical. It's funny, it's sentimental, it's just a really beautiful piece of theater, and it really resonated with people.
Wow.
And I was so nervous about that, Maria, because, people fall in love with you as a certain character, and when you have to kind of go back out and become something else for them, it's always an intimidating step for me. But the material that Ricky wrote and the way he worked with the creative team at Stages, it was such a beautiful collaboration, and we created something so incredible.
Rick, when did you start writing? That's a lot of writing that you.
Thursday I started.
Thursday, wow. So then you're doing really well then.
No, what happened was, be careful what you say out loud, because I kept telling her, you should have your own show. You should do your own show. You should have your own show. And she's like, well, why don't you just write me one? And I'm like, yeah, well, I will. I just will. Go ahead.
I love it.
And I'm like, now what? Big mouth, But we had a kernel of an idea, and you'll appreciate this, because the kernel of the idea that took off was had a whole bit about Sunday supper. The idea of the Sunday supper. You knew where you were going to be.
Yeah.
At 2:00 on Sunday, you knew you were going to be at Nana's house for Sunday.
Absolutely.
And that idea, that feeling, that we thought this might be something that people can relate to, whether you're Italian or not. We all grew up with that, but
I miss that.
Yeah, and we realized that a lot of people were missing that whatever it was for their family. And as we started to expand the piece, it kept going back to that thing. So, and when it was finally up and running, I can't tell you how many people were like, of every ethnic background you can imagine, coming up afterwards, going, I'm not Italian, but I was at my grandma's house on Sunday, and blah 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 blah, and they're telling stories. So it resonated on a level that we weren't even thinking about.
Wow.
You can only write from your own, you can only write from what you know, your own experience. And then, the other great thing was we started to kind of stretch the boundaries of what our own limitations were. Like we were used to doing things a certain way, but this theater was so encouraging, and every ridiculous notion that we pitched, they were like, yeah, we can do that. We can execute that.
Really?
Yeah. And they were really just on board for, oh, you need a projection of a dinosaur? Sure. You need to have a game show in the middle of the thing as a fantasy sequence. Yeah, we can do that. And once the stops were off, it was just like, well, we're just going to take this thing to the next level. And
Oh, wow.
it just was like an explosion on stage of just, and one amazing actor in the middle of
I
it.
know. I'm a big fan of Dee's work. Denise, there was a thing that I came to see you in. You played a hairdresser.
Yeah, Sheer Madness.
Yes, Sheer Madness.
I learned that show in 48 hours, Maria.
Really?
Yeah, because so I had been cast as in the Lily Tomlin project in Houston, Search for Signs of Intelligent Life in the New Universe.
Which I love that show.
It was such a great experience. And then David Gersten had called me, and he was working with the team for Sheer Madness in New York. And he's like, I think you would be great as this character. And I, of course, looked at my calendar and I'm like, oh my God, I just committed to go to Houston for the Lily Tomlin play. And like, I can't not do that play, but
Right.
I also would love to get an off-Broadway contract,
Yeah.
in New York City at New World Stages doing Sheer Madness, because I'd always wanted to do the show, from Boston. I never
Yes, it
jumped in
started
there.
in Boston. Ran forever. It's probably still running for all we know.
Yeah, so then Stages was wonderful, the theater that we work in Houston, and they said, well, we'll bring it in next season. Like, we'll actually secure the rights and we'll do it. We would love to do it. It ran here years ago. And I was doing late night shortly thereafter. We had never entered into rehearsals ever in Houston. They had made the announcement that the show was happening. And David Gersten called me and he said, one of the girls in the show has had an emergency and they need somebody to fill in for this role in New York for a couple
Oh
of
my
nights.
God.
Have you started rehearsal in Houston? And I was like, no. And he's like, I'm going to ask you that question again. Have you started rehearsal in Houston? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, so you could learn the lines and be ready to go in like 48 hours? I was like, and he's like, yeah, you can get to it. And
Wow.
so I learned the lines, and then so many people, thanks for coming, like,
Oh, I loved it. I loved it. You were great.
I mean, I think I did 2 shows in New York, and
I caught it.
18 different endings. What a great show that
Oh,
was. And
great show, and you were wonderful. I'm not just saying that. You were wonderful.
I had a great time. Another interactive, fun experience. I'm very blessed, Maria.
Yeah, well, blessed is one part of it for sure, but you have to, when you are blessed with something, you have to be able to take the reins and say, I take this challenge and I honor whatever the universe gives you. There's a lot of times when we see things and we're like, I just can't do it right now. Or I'm not ready, or I don't want to, whatever it is. But both of you, when something comes your way, you say yes. And like, I remember that Tina Fey in her book, which I loved, it's called Bossy Pants. It's a great book. It's about her career. But she says, say yes and then figure it out later. That's what she did. Like, she would be like, sure. Like the phone would ring and she'd be like, yeah, I can do that. I can write that script. And then she'd be like, how am I going to do that? I have this other. She was just like, just say yes and then figure it out. So lots of times she'd have like 3 projects going, but she never regretted it afterwards, And that I think is part of this business. It's the stressful part of it, but the joy is that we get to be in our bodies, have the experiences we have, and just share our light with other people, and they don't forget it.
No.
Lynn
Lynn Portis was somebody, like, I've met so many great friends and ended up getting to like really create some beautiful work with all of them, and continue to. And I love that we all think of each other if there's something where we all fit in,
Yeah.
and saying yes is a huge thing. I mean, I just said yes to something else, and then 3 days later, I panic. I'm like, I can't do that. That's
I
crazy.
know.
But I'm still going to do it because at this point, why not?
I know. It's true.
And when you do work and you feel like it resonates, like for me, um, what was interesting this run for me in Houston is the Irish show was such a huge success, but 50% of the audience that came to see me in The Bride never saw me as sister. So
Really?
the shows were feeding themselves too. It plays to a totally different audience, and
How many does that theater hold?
there's 3 theaters within the actual stages space.
Oh,
So
cool.
yeah, and they range from 200 to 8.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
That's
it's a pretty awesome
Yeah,
space.
it's
I mean, I'm super grateful that I stumbled this. I mean, talk about getting to play. It's
that's incredible.
and
And
then
then
we're going to bring it to Boston, which is, like after you produce these shows, you hope that maybe you'll get a chance to do it again. Some of them just stay where they are, that, and it was a wonderful experience. But The Bride definitely, it's a universal message. It really resonated with a lot of people. So a lot of other theaters have kind of reached out, and Norwell, Mass, the company theater in Norwell, Mass, on November, May 11th and 12th. That's our first tour out of Houston with The Bride.
so okay, May 11th. I'm gonna write this down because we have a lot of friends in Boston. May 11th
Mother's Day weekend. Yeah.
and 12th. Where is it? At
It's
Norwell?
at the company theater in Norwell, Mass. And they're awesome, Maria.
Wow.
They're like message aligns completely with the stages folks, and the 2 theaters are working together to produce it. So
Yeah.
it's really exciting.
So will you guys do me a favor? If there's some kind of a flyer with some kind of a link
Yes,
or any information, will you send it to me and I'll post it on my wall,
yes.
or my personal page and this page? Because as you know, we have so many friends in Boston. My whole family's there. They would love
This
it.
is Boston. I mean, like these characters are all loosely based off of my family. It's loosely based off of our wedding day and what it was like to, you know, we don't reference the Tony and Tina's, but like, Maria, all of a sudden I'm going to get married. And now Ricky comes from a big, giant Italian family, and I do too. So are we doing the chicken dance in a tent at my parents' front lawn for our wedding? What are we talking about?
Right.
What are the boundaries of our wedding?
Right. Oh my God, that's hysterical.
'Cause at that point in your life, you already know the mental, I mean, Tony and Tina's was my life. It wasn't too far. I happen to be a great actress, but that wasn't a big stretch for me.
Right, right. Oh, I love that. And
So,
Rick, your family's from Italy, right?
My father is, yeah, my father was came to this country when he was 21. My mother is Italian, but she's first generation.
Wow.
And yeah, and they our families came together, and it was we had an interesting sort of discovery. We took a trip to Italy when
I know, I saw that on the Facebook. That was so beautiful.
so I said, we're going and we're going to go see my family in Abruzzi, and we should maybe try to see, like where your people come from. Well, turns out where her people come from is about 15 minutes away from where my people come. I'm like, yeah, we're probably third cousins. We should probably never do a DNA test.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
My
we're-
cousin Rena, who comes on the show every week, she's from her father is Abruzzese. So we have so many Abruzzese friends. I'm a big fan of the Abruzzese.
Yes.
I think the best food in Italy is from
Oh,
Abruzzi.
100%.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Unbelievable. This hour flew by. We're at the
Thanks
end of
for
our
having
show.
us. What a treat to catch up with you.
Oh my God, I've wanted to have you guys on for the longest time. Now, this is what I ask our guests to do every time the show ends. I want you both to leave, because most of the people that watch this show are also creative people in some way, whether they're chefs, visual artists, actors themselves, singers. Let's leave them with some words of encouragement about staying creative. So, who wants to go first?
We're like, what? You
There
go.
you go.
Oh, what's the assignment again, Maria?
What words of encouragement would you give our listeners about staying creative?
Oh, I think you
And
just.
and how do you stay in the game?
I don't know. Well, look, here's from my experience, my relationships. They became so important to me. I always say, like, in particular to the younger generation, like, you got to want to be in the room with people for a really long time. Teching, and this is a lot of hours. So, when it comes right down to it, if your resume and you're as talented as the person next to you, it's, do you want to spend time in that room with the person? And your reputation and how you conduct yourself is so important. We can all make mistakes. I mean, early on, I can't even tell you. I could probably go back but you can't. You just got to keep going and believe in yourself and believe in the art. And it is difficult when art and business collide,
Mm,
as we've learned, you got to love theater, I think you got to love being an artist and
yeah,
just
you have
seek
to.
out other people, like find people to talk to about it and, find people that uplift you and help and support your career and say yes. That's,
Say yes.
find the people that say yes for you and to you and, you know, and hang on to them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really hang on to your people because it's a journey and it's not necessarily always about the performance. It's about everything leading up to it too.
I love that. I love that. Rick, what do you think?
Say what you mean and mean what you say. You're only as good as your word, and in this business, like Dee said, you really want to have to be. You're gonna have to be in a room with somebody for a long time, and it's really hard, to open yourself up and to have that trust and know
Mhm.
that you can fall on your face, and the person sitting across from you or next to you is not gonna
Yeah.
burst out laughing, but help you, through a moment. Or that's what it's all about.
Yeah,
When you're not
absolutely.
afraid, when you're not afraid to fail, that's when the good stuff comes out. When
Yeah.
you're willing to fall flat on your face, that's when the magic happens.
Yeah, it's not an easy business to be in. Anybody that's in it will tell you to be a creative person and just keep going that's all a labor of love.
And take care of your skin, moisturize, for God's sakes.
I do. I use the best stuff on the planet and I sell
No,
it.
you look great.
Rodan and
Look at
Fields.
you.
Rodan and Fields. I can't say enough about it. Anybody that knows me. So I agree. All right. I can't thank you both enough. I love you guys and I appreciate that you took the time to come on. Now, how long have you been married now? Is it
47.
a year yet?
I think we're almost at 2.
Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary. We don't even know what our anniversary is.
It's not important.
It's coming up on 3.
It's just so wild to me how it all it happens. And here we are.
It.
And I'm grateful. And when I see your shirt, it just takes me back.
I know I had to wear it tonight. I still have it.
To me,
I keep it on the bottom of the drawer just in case I ever need it.
Nice.
Nice. That's a nice shirt.
Nice shirt.
I recently saw Richie.
Richie.
Remember Richie and Carol, his wife Carol, on the street.
Oh my God.
That's great.
Oh my God. So many stories.
There were so many stories.
I love you guys, and I'm so glad that we got to do this. We had some tech problems with it running on my page, but hopefully it'll get fixed. We'll put it on the page. I'm going to put it on the Tony and Tina page, and feel free to share it wherever you guys want.
Thanks.
And it's also on YouTube, so it'll be on our What's the Story with Maria. It's episode 343. So you'll see it, and soon it'll be up there, and then you'll be able to share it. Also, folks, this goes live. Into podcast and Spotify, Spreaker, and iHeartRadio within 12 hours.
That's great. 343.
Yeah.
Amazing. Congratulations.
Pretty cool, right? Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, we're happy. So thank you, Leo Rodriguez, who runs our show and is an amazing our tech assistant and stage manager. We love you, Leo. We love everybody out there. Please come back every Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern. We love and appreciate you. Good night.